Hi everyone, it's Daniel from Homegrown, Melbourne, Australia. And today I've just put a little bit of a video together on my efforts in making pear cider. So up to this stage, I've picked the pears, I've done the crushing and pressing and put it in the fermenter with the yeast. So this is my pear tree just before I picked all the pears off it. It's a Bosc pear tree. A bit later on you'll see some Williams pears, but I didn't use those in this effort, although I did pick them as well. And I'm just going having a look at the tree, just identifying where the pears are growing, because what you'll probably notice is that there's a lot of weight on quite thin branches in some parts of the tree. So I'm going to just here. So I'm going to give it a bit of a summer prune now that I've picked the tree, and I really just want to identify how much of the wood I'm going to be cutting off that does fruit bear, in an effort just to make the tree a bit stronger going forward. So I got quite a bit of fruit off this tree. I didn't weigh it, but I did get 3 big boxes. They were probably 30 to 50 litre boxes off just this tree, and ultimately when we pressed it we got probably about 18 litres of juice. This is my Williams tree, and one of the reasons I decided that I really need to start picking them, although the fruit was certainly ready, is that the birds were starting to get through the nets, and you'll see here they hang off the nets and they push their weight on them and are able to still get to the fruit through the nets. So rather than waste any more fruit, let's pick them. So the Williams tree, I think I prefer the Williams pears. They're certainly a nicer looking pear. They tend to go yellow once they've been picked and sitting off the tree for about a week or so, and they go really nice, soft flesh, really easy to eat, and probably my preferred pear, but nowhere near as prolific as the Bosc pear. Probably about at best probably about a third of the volume. The Williams did start to fall off the tree. I would say they're probably a couple of weeks ahead of the Bosc in terms of maturing. And I'd sort of been picking them off the ground over the last couple of weeks. Yeah, so that's the pear trees. This is the harvest. Unfortunately, I didn't get video, so here's a picture of the harvest that we got. You can see the the boxes of the Bosc. This is basically what we did. We put them in water to wash them. We sat either side of them to cut them up, to put them into the press. Here's an example of them in the press. Sorry, in the crusher. You basically just wind that handle and hold that bit of wood on top of the crusher, wind the handle, and you end up with the crushed pears in the bucket underneath. And you can sort of see there we've finished that load, and there's an example of the end product coming out of the crusher. So we take those crushed pears and we put them into the press. So here's a bit of an example of the press. So the press I bought is an EJ Wox, W-O-X. It's a 14 litre press. Sorry about the camera work. and 2 lots of crushings. So the crusher holds 7 litres and the press holds 14 litres. So we got a bit excited there and didn't close the cloth over. So I think I stopped and we fixed that up. And really important to make sure you get a bucket underneath the press even before you start pressing, because the juice just starts to flow. Yeah, so I'm pretty happy with this 14 litre crusher. A bigger one might have made it easier, but this size I'll be able, press. This size press I'll be able to use for the honey as well. Weight wise, it's manageable. Yeah, so I think it's probably a good compromise in size, cost, and usability. Certainly the process during the day did take quite a while, so I think we started at about 1:30. There were 2 of us going on it full time, and then we had help from a third person to help cut up the pears for a couple of hours. So we went from probably about 1:30 to about 5:30 or something like that in the afternoon. Once we pressed the juice, I just divided it up between 2 large saucepans to heat it up. The idea here was to heat up the and pasteurize the the pear juice, and get it up to about 60 degrees. Once we got it up to about 60 degrees, we kept it at that for about 20 minutes. What I'm just showing here is I put it into this bucket, and then the next morning we basically just decanted it again into the fermenter, leaving some of the thicker stuff behind, and we put a teaspoon and a half of yeast nutrient, because we had about 14 litres of juice in the end, and we used the Mangrove Jack's number 2 M2 cider yeast, and that went in there. So yeah, that's about it for now. Hope that was helpful. You can see there, this yeast can get up to about 12% in alcohol volume.